The briefing room aboard Orion's Spear was deathly quiet, the way only arrogance could silence professionals. Holograms flickered in a dim circle, thermal scans, EM spikes, topographical renderings of the underground tunnels on Varnak 6. Commander Zarek Vor stood at the center, spine straight, 6 cybernetic implants pulsing blue along his neck. His voice was calm, surgical. Your target is Terran. Human. Male. Code name, Reaper. Real name, Kane Maddox. Former Tier 0 operative. AWOL. Lethal. Borderline myth. Snickers rippled through the units, each a mix of elite alien species and armor designed to withstand the vacuum of space and direct plasma fire. Zarek's gaze turned cold. The amusement died. 5 units. Full deployment. Thermal drones. Pulse tracking. Neural dampeners. You don't talk to him. You don't wait. You detain. Preferably breathing. But not necessarily intact. He paused, then tapped a command. The lights dimmed. A single still image took over, grainy, low-lit, a shadowed figure walking through the ruins of a collapsed mining shaft. The timestamp read 2 hours ago. He knows we're coming. No one moved. Varnak 6 was not a world built for life. Once a rich deposit for rare metals, it had been drained by the Union, then left to rot. Acid rain stripped paint off the abandoned rigs. Winds howled through rusted scaffolding. Beneath the surface, miles of decommissioned mining tunnels sprawled in a chaotic labyrinth. Unit Echo touched down first, 5 members, all Aegiri-born hunters with echolocating visors and 360 degrees neurofeeds. Silent and swift, they slid into the substructure through Shaft Delta. 2 minutes in, their vitals blinked green. 3 minutes, still clear. At minute 5, the feed from Echo 2 cut to static. Echo 1 report, came Zarek's voice over the secure line. Nothing. Echo 1, status? A hiss of broken audio. Then silence. At minute 6, the remaining Echo vitals went flatline. Kane Maddox was not waiting. He had been here for weeks, mapping old routes, redirecting heat vents, rewiring fallback batteries. He hadn't run from the Union. He had dug in. And when the dropships arrived above Varnak, he knew the game had started. He moved like silence made flesh, dressed in shredded enviroweave, face masked with scorched carbon. In one hand, an old Terran vibroblade, handle worn from use. In the other, a patched-together device flashing a soft red. Echo's neurofeed recorder. Still warm. He dropped it beside a dismembered boot. You sent them first. That was polite. He murmured, voice low, guttural. Not angry, focused. He disappeared into the dark. On the surface, Zarek clenched his jaw. Alpha, Beta, Delta, Gamma, advance to Phase 2. Isolate him. Funnel him toward Relay Core 7. Sir? Came Beta lead, a gruff Voxer captain with 4 arms and no patience. He's one man. So was the virus that wiped out Ether Prime. Zarek snapped. Do your job. Unit Delta entered from the east tunnel. Steam hissed from overhead pipes. Old floodlights blinked. Bioscanners read shadows that weren't moving. Footsteps echoed too long. What's that smell? Muttered Delta 2. Metal, said Delta 1. Old metal. They passed a corner. Something clicked beneath the lead's boot. Flash. A wall of sound hit them. A ruptured pressure tank Kane had rerouted. It slammed Delta 1 into the ceiling. Blood misted the air. The others scattered, panic overriding protocol. Kane watched from a crawlspace above, eyes emotionless. He whispered into his hijacked comm. Took the bait. Good boys. He moved. 3 levels above, Alpha Unit was tracking a false thermal trail, a decoy Kane had laced with rodent corpses and a cheap plasma battery. They thought they had him. They were loud. Too loud. He's running, said Alpha 4, grinning behind his helmet. He's leading. Alpha 2 corrected, eyes narrowing. They turned a corner, just in time to see a support beam give way. Kane dropped it manually. It crushed Alpha 3 instantly. Shots rang out, useless. Kane was already gone, melting into the dark. At Union Command, Zarek gritted his teeth. The data feeds were unreliable. Biometrics were fading. Neural trackers scrambled. He stared at the last coherent image of Kane, walking toward the relay core, not away. "He's targeting the communications hub," murmured his adjutant. Zarek's jaw tightened. "He's not trying to escape." In the heart of the tunnels, Kane stood still, finally alone. The soft blue glow of the relay station lit the room. Panels buzzed. He placed a shaped charge on the main pillar. He tapped his ear. "You listening, Zarek?" Static. Then Kane's voice, fed directly into Union comms. "I trained with ghosts. I became one. Your mistake wasn't hunting me. It was thinking 5 would be enough." He paused. 4 units left. And I'm just getting started." The line went dead. In the distance, under a rising blood-red moon, a single transmission floated through the static. "Echo down. Reaper active. Repeat, Reaper is." Silence. Only the radio came back. Varnak SIXS tunnels breathed like lungs, humid, tight, alive with echoes. Kane Maddox pressed his back to a wall slick with condensation, eyes locked on a flickering surveillance orb suspended above a rusted catwalk. He waited. Motionless. Not hiding. Listening. The orb tilted left. Kane moved right. He gripped a carbon shard in one hand, the other wrapped around a modified thermal jammer pulsing blue against his palm. It beat slower than a heart, but it was his only shield now. They were crawling in. Above ground, Commander Zarek clenched his jaw as the last static feed from Unit Delta cut off. "He's bleeding us," said his adjutant. "No. He's filleting us." Zarek didn't flinch. He rerouted drone control to manual override and opened Unit Beta's comm. "Lock sections E4 through G7. Cut ventilation. Force him into the reactor spine." "Copy," came the curt reply. Beta moved in. Kane stepped over a collapsed girder, his boots silent against ash-covered steel. His fingers brushed the wall, counting steps by memory. He reached the maintenance panel, slid it open. Inside, his second kill kit. Nails, adhesive, a coiled wire, and a rusted motion trap meant for cave worms. He took everything but the wire. That had a different use. Down the tunnel, faint footfalls echoed, rhythmic, tight formation. Beta unit. He had 10 seconds. Maybe 9. Kane dipped into the ceiling shaft, body pressed flat, eyes watching below. 5 shadows entered, sweeping their weapons slowly, overlapping fields. The lead had thermal goggles and a pulse rifle. The rest carried shock spears, designed to disable, not kill. Kane didn't wait for them to pass. That was the old mistake. He dropped silently. The first soldier didn't see the blade until it was in his throat. Kane caught the body before it fell, spinning it like a shield into Beta 2. The others scattered, barking orders. A stun bolt flew. Kane rolled behind a pillar, used a rusted pipe to reflect a second shot. "Where is he?" Kane responded with silence. Beta 4 circled wide, approaching from the rear. He never saw the floor panel lift until Kane's arm yanked him under. A single snap echoed. Spine. Clean. Kane rolled the body into the shaft, grabbed the dropped shock spear, and disappeared again. 3 down. Zarek watched the vitals blink red. "Status. Contact made," a voice panted. "He's here. He's Guk." The line cut. Zarek turned to his drone operator. "Deploy sweepers." The drone tech hesitated. "We've only got 4 left." "He's down 2 already, reprogrammed 1 to bite us." Zarek's fingers twitched. "Do it. He won't survive swarm mode." Kane ducked into a side corridor, chest rising once, then still. The blood on his arm wasn't his. Not yet. Above him, a soft whir. Drones. He smiled without warmth. Finally. He pulled the thermal jammer from his belt, twisted the capacitor. It hummed with a sharp chirp. The first drone rounded the corner. Kane ducked under its scan, yanked it mid-hover with a looped cord, and slammed it against a pipe. Sparks flew. He ripped the logic core from its underside and plugged it into a custom spike. The drone blinked once, then green. Kane pointed. The drone obeyed. Unit Alpha, meanwhile, was chasing phantoms, literally. Kane's last trick had left their helmets pulsing with heat signatures that danced through walls. "He's to our left," said Alpha 3. "No, right," said Alpha 2. They turned. A flare burst behind them, full thermal bloom. Alpha 1 snarled. "He's playing with us." Then the lights went out. And someone screamed. Flashback, Kane, 10 years ago, in a Terran deep training program called Black Veil. A sergeant throws him into a jungle pit with nothing but twine and bone. "Enemy will outnumber you 5-1. You will never have more firepower. Win anyway." He did. Every time. Back in the tunnels, Kane crouched over the fried drone, fingers dancing over circuits. His face was tight, focused. "Almost there, just route this." A shot rang out. Sparks exploded inches from his face. Kane dove behind a steel crate, rolled, tossed a smoke pellet. The corridor filled with gray fog. From it a voice growled. "Maddox! Step out! You're cornered!" Kane coughed once, then answered calmly. "That's the funny thing about corners." He tossed a small orb. It blinked red. "They work both ways." Boom! The pressure wave ripped the crate apart and threw Beta Lee back 30 feet, helmet cracked, blood on his lips. Kane didn't wait for a second shot. He ran. In the relay control chamber, Zarek watched Unit Beta's readouts vanish. One by one. The green turned gray. Then Kane's voice cut through the feed. "3 units left, Commander. You're running out of friends." The audio crackled, then Kane added one more thing, almost soft, but deadly clear. "And I haven't even started the real work yet." The commander didn't respond. He stared at the flickering map, fingers tapping. Kane Maddox was somewhere below, alone. And 5 units, no, 2 now, were breaking against the walls he built. This wasn't a hunt. This was his playground. And the predator was human. The floor groaned beneath Kane's boots as he crossed the collapsed support bridge inside the mining shaft's lower levels. Pipes hissed around him like vipers, pressure, heat, gas. Dangerous. Perfect. He paused at the threshold of Section K-12, gaze scanning the walls. Shadows. Movement. They were tightening the net. He clicked his radio transmitter, one stolen from a dead Alpha, and fed a static burst into Union comms. "Still here, Commander. How many left now? 2? 3? Silence on their end. Kane grinned. Silence was fear in disguise. Unit Gamma had taken position near the old core housing, where mineral processors once ran 24 hours a cycle. Now, it was rust and rats. They moved as a single organism, tight, focused, wary. Their commander, a cold-eyed Solari named Rask, raised 2 fingers. "Stop." Motion sensor ping. Faint. 15 meters. "He's close." They moved in formation. What they didn't see was the tripwire across the upper beam, wired to a coolant tank barely hanging by a weld. When Rask stepped under it, Kane dropped the blade. The tank burst open, spilling cryofluid like a river of liquid frost. 3 gammas froze mid-step, literally. The sound of cracking armor echoed off the steel. The 4th, Rask, stumbled back, drawing his weapon. Kane descended like a shadow behind him. One strike to the throat. No flourish. No hesitation. Rask hit the ground. The last unit twitched, reaching for a sidearm. Kane shot him in the hand, non-lethal. Deliberate. He crouched beside the writhing alien and leaned close. "You're not the one I want." The alien groaned. "Why? Why spare me?" Kane stood. "Because mercy's the thing they don't expect." He walked away, dragging Rask's comm link. Zarek watched another screen fade to black. Unit Gamma, wiped. He turned to the room of command officers. Initiate final lockdown. He's cornered. Deploy orbital scan on thermal bands. Shut down tunnel airflow. Force pressure spikes. A junior tactician hesitated. That will kill the civilians still underground. Zarek didn't blink. They shouldn't have harbored a terrorist. The order was sent. Kane was halfway through a side vent when he felt it, airflow dying. The tunnel tightened, heat rising. Pipes creaked. Environmental controls were offline. He knew the Union wouldn't face him directly. They would crush the rock instead. Cowards, he muttered, sliding into a maintenance crawlspace. He tapped his wrist beacon, scanning the relay signals. Still online. Just for now. He checked the detonator on his belt, linked to a series of charges placed in Relay Core 7. He had one more task before vanishing. 20 minutes later, Unit Alpha tracked movement toward the abandoned shaft junction. They advanced carefully. Their armor hissed as they moved, powered by internal oxygen now that atmospheric levels were spiking. Vision narrowed through steam and darkness. "Thermal reading, there!" shouted Alpha 3. They fired. The form collapsed. Alpha 1 moved closer, only to find a pile of smoldering fabric with a heat pack tucked inside. Then the real attack came. Kane rose from above, descending from an overhead vent like a blade from a scabbard. He landed on Alpha 2, driving a jagged rebar spike through his chest plate. Alpha 3 turned to shoot. Kane vanished behind a column. The next shot came not from Kane, but from Alpha 1, panicked and misfiring. The friendly fire struck Alpha 3 in the neck. Armor shattered. Blood sprayed. Kane stepped out slowly, calm. "You still think this is a war?" Alpha 1 leveled his rifle, breathing hard. This isn't possible." Kane tilted his head. "It's survival. You just forgot how it works." He closed the distance. One shot to the knee. Then silence. Back at command, the feed died. Only Kane's voice remained, broadcast directly through the emergency override. "One unit left, Vor." Zarek stepped forward. "I expected more from you, Maddox. You're just delaying the inevitable." Kane's voice was low. "You think this is about survival? This is a message. One planet. One human. 5 units. You called it a hunt. It's a reckoning." Static. Then the voice added, "I'm not the prey. I'm the closing chapter." Kane reached the final chamber, Relay Core 7. A towering structure of blinking lights, humming circuits, and massive data banks. He planted the final charge behind a coolant stabilizer. He checked the perimeter. No sounds. No footsteps. But one signal blipped red. Kane looked up. Commander Zarek had come himself. The alien's armor gleamed under the emergency lights, etched with command insignia and streaked with age. He held a plasma lance, humming with deadly force. "You're out of tricks, Maddox." Kane said nothing. He pulled the detonator, let Zarek see it. Then dropped it on the floor untouched. "This isn't about blowing it up. Not yet." He raised his fists. "No weapons." Zarek laughed coldly. "A fist fight? With me?" Kane cracked his neck. "No. With a human." They collided like hammer and anvil. The alien struck first, brutal and fast. Kane ducked, redirected the swing with one arm, elbowed Zarek's throat with the other. The alien stumbled, surprised. Kane pressed, 3 quick jabs, 1 knee to the chest. Zarek roared, drove Kane back with a body slam. The ground shook. Kane spit blood, grinned. "Still just a suit under all that metal." Zarek snarled. "And you're just a man." Kane dodged another swing, grabbed the lance shaft mid-arc, and yanked. The weapon snapped against the wall. Sparks. They circled. Breathing heavy. Then Kane lunged, pinned Zarek to the relay tower, one arm crushing his windpipe. "Tell them." Zarek gurgled. "What?" "Tell the Union what one human did." He released the grip just enough. "Because if you don't, the next one won't warn you first." Kane let him fall. Behind him, the relay countdown began. The detonation wasn't cinematic. It was surgical. Relay Core 7 vanished in a silent flash, taking Union surveillance with it. Kane didn't watch it burn. He was already gone. Smoke curled through the remnants of Relay Core 7, rising in slow ribbons that shimmered beneath flickering red emergency lights. Structural integrity alarms wailed faintly, muffled by collapsed walls and a thick blanket of dust. It looked like a tomb. Commander Zarek Vor lay against the scorched bulkhead, one knee bent unnaturally, one eye sealed shut from swelling. His helmet, cracked in half, rested beside him. For the first time in his decorated career, he wasn't issuing orders, he was breathing through the aftermath. Across the chamber, the black silhouette of Kane Maddox stood framed in a breach blown open by the charge. Backlit, motionless. No weapon in hand. He just watched. Zarek coughed, blood trailing from his mouth. "You could have killed me!" Kane didn't answer right away. He stepped forward, boots crunching over debris. "That wasn't the point." Zarek forced a laugh that ended in a choke. "You think you've won? The Union will erase this place. You. Everyone on it." Kane crouched beside him, eyes steady. "They'll come," he said. "But they'll come slow. And with a memory now." He reached for Zarek's belt, detached the commander's encrypted field beacon, and held it up. "This will be found. Eventually. You'll be found. Half dead. Shaking. Telling stories no one at HQ will believe until they lose more men just like you did." He dropped the beacon at Zarek's side. "Tell them what happened when they sent 5 units for 1 man." Kane turned and walked into the haze. Above ground, the atmosphere had stabilized. Union emergency systems had kicked in too late to save the relay, but just early enough to stop a full environmental collapse. A cleanup team circled the crater where the command tent once stood, searching for signs of the lost squads. A single tactical drone hovered over the wreckage, scanning. "No lifeforms detected in Grid 7A," the AI reported. The Union observer, a young Navy officer, nodded. "Anything recoverable?" The drone dropped altitude. Its mechanical claws sifted through blackened fragments. It found something. A radio. It was half melted. Silent. Then, unexpectedly, it sparked to life. Static. 1 man. 5 units. Only the radio came back. Static. The officer stiffened. "Get that to Fleet Command. Now." Miles away, Kane emerged from a maintenance exit carved into the side of an eroded hill. The air was thinner here, crisper. He paused, pulled the rebreather from his mouth, and let the first natural breath of surface oxygen sting his lungs. It smelled like dust and metal. He started walking. Through the jagged landscape, past rusted crawler husks and collapsed towers, he moved with purpose. Not fast, but deliberate. His pace was a soldier's march, trained, measured, practiced to conserve strength. A soft chirp came from his wrist, calm one frequency. One name. Ilya. He reached the outskirts of the settlement at dusk. It wasn't much: scavenged walls, patched dwellings, and a single watchtower built from shipping containers. The kind of place the Union overlooked because it wasn't worth listing on a map. Kane walked past the first checkpoint. The guard looked up, froze, then lowered his weapon. "Sir, you made it." Kane said nothing. Just nodded. He continued toward the central square. A small group had gathered, mostly human, a few hybrid settlers. They looked exhausted, but their eyes lit up as they recognized him. But Kane was focused on one person. A girl, maybe 10, sitting on a rusted swing fashioned from cable and steel pipe. Dark hair. Freckles. Eyes that had seen too much. She looked up as he approached. "You came back," she whispered. Kane knelt. Took off his mask. "Told you I would." She stared at him, then threw herself forward, arms wrapping around his neck. He hugged her close, a moment of warmth buried under ash and war. "Is it over?" she asked. Kane pulled back, met her eyes. "No. But they'll think twice now." That's enough for today. Later, as night fell over the cratered valley, Kane stood on a ledge overlooking the ravaged expanse of Varnak 6. His body ached. The wounds, some visible, others not, throbbed beneath the skin. But his mind was sharp. He tapped his wrist pad, inputting a private transmission. To Terran Embassy Relay, Shadow Band 14A. Subject Mission Summary, Varnak 6. Target relay destroyed. Union strike teams neutralized. Minimal civilian loss. Threat deterrent established. Codename, Reaper. Status, unlisted. Objective complete. He closed the file. No ceremony. No rank. Just data. Behind him, the wind carried faint laughter, children playing near the barracks, unaware of the cost that protected their sleep tonight. Kane didn't smile. But he stayed. Because for now, the ghosts could rest. And the galaxy, just for a moment, remembered what humans were truly capable of. Only the radio came back. But the message had already spread. Never corner a Terran unless you're ready to meet extinction.